With Blender 5.0, we got a new and improved array modifier that uses geometry nodes. It has some enhanced features to make our lives a lot easier, and in this Blender tutorial, we will go over every setting on the new array modifier in Blender. My name is Brandon, let's get started. With an object selected, when we go to the Modifiers Property tab and press Add Modifier, we can now find the array modifier. That's the new one. And we also see Array Legacy, which is the old one. So don't worry if you still want to use the old one, choose the Legacy. Let's look at the new one though. When we add this modifier, the modifier actually adds this enormous geometry node setup to the object. That's an insane amount of nodes, I can't even understand it. But this is all under the hood, and we don't have to worry about any of it. We control everything in the modifier properties just like before. The first thing we notice is that by default, the modifier makes 3 of our objects in a straight line, and it adds this colorful gizmo to the middle of it. This gizmo is another way of controlling the settings of the modifier, which can be pretty useful. Over in the modifier settings, the first important thing is the shape. The new array modifier has 4 different modes it can operate in: line, circle, curve, and transform. Each do their own thing. And if we select some, we can see each have different settings. We'll cover them all starting with the line. So the line shape arrays our object in a line. The count is simply how many times the object will repeat. That means how many instances of the object there will be. Each of these instances of the object are offset from each other. And there are 3 ways they can be told how far apart to offset. Relative is relative to the size of the object. Offset is a fixed distance between each object. And endpoint is how far we want all of the objects to be spread out, meaning how far away from the beginning of the array do we want the end of the array to be. With all of these selected, we can control the offset or translation with the 9 sets of controls here. To offset the location along any axis, play with the 3 offset settings. To have the objects rotate along an axis, play with the rotation settings. Notice each instance of the object rotates more from the rotation of the last instance. And the same thing works with scale. This Realize Instances checkbox is a bit technical, but when it's checked, each copy of the object will act like its own object. And this might be necessary if you're using other modifiers or doing other things to this object. So for the most part, just keep it checked. Unchecking it will use less memory though. I'm going to reset a lot of these settings, and then we go back to look at the randomized settings, which are probably my favorite new thing with this array modifier. If you're still here, please hit that like button. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. This randomized setting is available on all of the shape options. When we check it on and expand the settings, we can do a whole bunch of randomizing. First, we can choose an amount to randomize the offsetting along each of the 3 axes, so all the copies don't have to be in a perfectly straight line. There's a different slider for each axis. Same thing with rotation. We can have the objects randomly rotate so they're facing slightly different directions. This is so useful for spreading things out in a more natural way with the array modifier. I love it. The scale can be randomized too, and under scale axes, the uniform option will give us 1 slider to scale the objects uniformly on all axes. Or we can choose to scale by axis, and then we have 3 sliders to randomly scale along each individual axis. Hope that makes sense. I kind of wish this uniform option was in more places in Blender. I really like it. The flipping settings, it will completely flip a certain percentage of the copies along any of the 3 axes. For example, if I want to flip 50% of the copies along the z-axis, I just set the z setting to 0.5, and it does this. The exclude first checkbox will mean the randomization does not affect the first object in the array. And exclude last will mean the randomization will not affect the last object in the array. I could see this being useful, glad they thought of it. And the seed slider allows us to choose different variations of the randomization if we don't like what we get with the first try. When I started using the modifier, I was kind of mad because I didn't think this seed value was an option, but it's hidden way down here. The merge setting is for if we have overlapping geometry from the array. We can have vertices merged together if they fall within a certain distance that we set right here. This seems really useful when doing the circle array, and we'll get to that next. The circle shape. Okay, so let's look at the second shape for the new array modifier, and that is circle. This will of course array the objects in a circle. This used to take a lot of steps before this modifier, so I'm happy to see it's a lot easier now. So by default, all of our objects are in a very tiny circle. I'll jump down and increase the radius of the circle to spread them out. That's what the radius setting does. The count method has count and distance. With count, we choose how many objects are in the array. With distance, we choose an angle, and it's kind of hard to explain, but like 90 degrees will place 4 because each one's at the 90-degree angle. 45 will double that, and as the angle gets smaller, the count will increase. The axis chooses which axis the circle is oriented around. The circle segment setting is cool. The full setting is what we see now, with the array creating a full circle. The arc setting gives us a sweep angle that we can adjust if we wanted an arch or partial circle rather than a 360-degree circle. Pretty cool. Notice the gizmo changes to give us different controls in the settings. I don't really use gimbals and gizmos or whatever they're called a lot, but they are another way to control things, including the sweep angle. The radius we already covered, and this realize instances is the same as with the line shape. Align rotation is checked by default and means all objects' rotations will align toward the center of the circle. If we uncheck this box, they'll all stay facing their original direction. And expanding this lets us control which axis they rotate on. We once again have the same randomized settings, which is so awesome, and we have the merge geometry option just like before. That's it for the circle. Let's check out the next shape, and that is curve. And when it's chosen, everything disappears. That's because this shape uses a curve in our scene to array the objects, and we don't have a curve chosen. I'll quickly add a Bezier curve. Scale it up, and I'll go back to the Suzanne model. To select the curve, we go to this box and choose which curve in our scene we want to use. Now the objects are arrayed along the curve. The beauty of this is we can go into the curve in edit mode and make the changes we want. The array will stay along the curve as we change it. Back to the curve array settings. The count method can be a fixed amount of points along the curve, or a specified distance between the objects. So if the curve got longer, more copies will be made, and if it gets shorter, fewer will be made. The per curve setting I can only assume is for use when there's more than one curve. I haven't really experienced that yet. I always hate when I can't at least attempt to explain something, but this relative space setting, I have no idea. Sorry. Realize instances, align rotation, randomize, and merge we've already covered, and they are available with the curve array. Now let's go to the last array shape. Hopefully you've hit that like button and become a subscriber by now. Thank you again. The last shape is transform. And transform behaves very much like our first shape line did. We can do most of the same things by adjusting the sliders. But with transform, we can choose object for the transform reference, and this is pretty much the object offset option that was in the legacy array modifier. If we select object, we can then select another object in our scene. I'll use this cube as an example, and this object will control the offsets. If we move the object, rotate the object, scale the object, it affects our array. As far as I can tell, that's pretty much the only reason to use the transform shape. And that was pretty much every setting in Blender 5.0's new and improved array modifier. It uses geometry nodes to do cool stuff efficiently. Give the video a like and please help me to get to that 100,000 subscriber mark so I get that really cool plaque from YouTube. Thank you, take care, stay creative.